You are the expert. Where is a safe, good place to start?
So, Alli, what exactly do you look for in a property when you're evaluating?
Real estate investing is all about delayed gratification.
Unlocking Saratoga's real estate secrets. Welcome to Selling Saratoga, a podcast about the real Saratoga real estate scene in one of the Northeast's hottest and fastest growing markets.
Our guests are going to gain insight on the best way to make real estate decisions, whether buying and selling and everything in between. I'm Helen Mastrian, Associate Broker at Hunt Real Estate in Saratoga Springs.
And I'm Noel McLaren, an Emmy Award-winning journalist and real estate enthusiast. Together, we have the keys to your future in Saratoga real estate. Welcome to Selling Saratoga, everyone. We, on the show today, have Alli Keib from Keib Capital. Welcome, Alli.
Thank you so much.
Yay,
Great to
Alli.
be here. Thanks for having me.
Alli's going to talk about all things real estate investment, how and why it's grown in popularity.
Also in this business, how you can get started investing in real estate and what it's like being a woman-owned business in the field of real estate.
Alli, welcome.
Thank
Yay.
you so much. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I think we all really want to know, what exactly is Keib Capital? Give us
Sure.
an explanation.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Happy to. So Keib Capital Enterprises is a local real estate investing company. We're focused predominantly in the upstate New York region, and we invest in multifamily real estate. So the idea is to find a property that we purchase, increase value of the property by renovation projects to add equity to our company, and also enhance the living experience of our current and local residents.
Can you define multifamily? Is that?
Oh, sure. It's a property with, multiple units inside of it. So, one structure with 2, 3, 4, 10 units.
Okay. What's the largest unit that you own?
My largest building is 23 units.
Did
Whoa.
everybody hear that? 23 units.
But you didn't start with 23 units,
Nope.
did you?
I started with 2 units.
Tell us how you kind of got started and how
Yeah.
you got into this.
Sure. So my business grew really organically, and I started pretty small. The same way I think a lot of people get started in this business. It started a little bit as a hobby. I was looking for something to do kind of on the side of being a mom. I left my life in the corporate America when I started my family and moved upstate. And I wanted to continue to contribute to the financial success of my family, but I knew the 9 to 5, I kind of was starting to reject the whole notion of working 40 hours a week,
Right.
for 60 years of your life. And so I started really
Oh.
rethinking that when I had started my family. So I said, I had started doing a lot of research about passive income. And I decided, let's just dive in. I just bought a duplex, which is a 2-unit building. And I figured I would just kind of run this property kind of on the side. And so in the beginning, it was really 1 duplex a year for the first 3 years. So
Wow.
2018, a 2-unit, 2019, a 2-unit, 2020, a 2-unit. So really started slowly, organically, and then has grown into,
So here in Saratoga?
these are in Boston Spa. But yeah, so my portfolio is in Boston Spa, Glens Falls, and Hudson Falls, and a single-family property, as we just talked about, in Montauk, New York.
I feel like
Wow.
a lot of women can relate to you, Alli. Just, hearing that part of your story, the whole wanting to contribute to your family, but
Yeah.
also wanting to be there for your family and the corporate structure just not working for your family. Helen and I have bonded over this as well, taking that pause and time for your family, but then also wanting to do something else.
Yeah.
So, it sounds like women can do this. Like,
Oh, totally. I had a lot of guilt around that at first, actually,
Right.
when I left the corporate world and
Same.
had my kids, and I wanted that to be so fulfilling. And of course it was, right? I've never done anything I love more than being a mom. I'm a mom of 3 now. I would have stopped at 1 if I didn't love it, right? But the nagging feeling that was always like, I'm a business person. I worked really hard in school. Like I climbed the corporate ladder. I love the idea of success. I just had to sort of redefine it for myself.
I love this. I think this is so cool.
And so
And relatable.
do most people, or do you recommend, and we're definitely going to get into the meat and potatoes, but do you recommend starting with a 2-unit or a 3-unit and getting your feet wet and learning the ropes before you move on to?
Yeah, I definitely would say starting smaller. I mean, just makes sense, right? Like rather than there are things that are easier about larger buildings, which is a little ironic, and we can get into that later.
Sure.
But I think starting small, getting your feet wet, is the best way to go, because there are so many mistakes that inevitably you're going to make.
Right.
And sometimes, there's a lot of analysis paralysis around real estate investing. So sometimes it's just a matter of like, sure, do your due diligence, but just kind of jump in. And there's a lot less risk when the property is small, right?
Right.
So,
Correct.
yeah.
Correct. Do you have to be a people person because you're dealing with tenants, or are you
Sure.
like a?
I definitely think, relationships are important.
Okay.
Being a people person, but with tenants, there's a fine line, right? Like you've got to be, you don't want to be their friends, and
Right.
you have to sort of lay down the law a little bit. But also, I think, but being a people person in this business is important because networking is so important. And so I
Right.
think as you
Exactly.
look to kind of grow your business and scale your business and talk to other investors that are doing what you're doing, being able to, really cultivate relationships and get opinions from other people is really
Right.
important.
Well, I feel like you get what you give, right? So
Right,
if
for
you're
sure.
a reasonably good person and your tenants know that, then hopefully they're, I'm sure there's exceptions to that rule,
Right.
but
Yeah.
it helps, right?
Real estate investment is growing in popularity,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have people doing it with Airbnb. You have people who have never even considered taking it on pre-COVID now
Right.
really thinking now is time. I mean, why is now the time to get on the real estate investment train
Yeah.
and why? Why
Well,
now?
I think part of the reason that real estate investing has kind of come into the limelight a little bit, like it's sort of like this sexy thing to do. I do attribute that a lot to social media. I mean, there's a ton of people out there just talking about, buying properties and renovating. And I also think like the whole HGTV phenomenon with all the renovations and things, I think has made it sort of like a sexy thing. And you've got a lot of, I also add some caution around this though, because there are a lot of sort of 20-somethings, early 30-somethings that kind of self-proclaim themselves on social media as financial experts. And there's this movement called the FIRE movement, financial independence through real estate. And, on social media, people talk about, quitting their corporate job to go invest in real estate, replace their income with real estate investments. And there's some risk involved there, right? So while I think real estate investing is an amazingly powerful wealth building tool, it's not something that I would necessarily say quit your job and dive in 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and the big picture is that real estate has been such a safe investment, and with the burst during COVID of real estate prices and the turnover and the unbelievable profits from buying and selling, that is a false carrot sometimes because
Right.
it's like, hundreds of thousands of dollars in 2 months' time, flipping.
Right.
It's not that easy.
No, it's not. And that is what makes me nervous about seeing some of these posts where, and that is one thing, like advice would be, you can control what you're taking on, right?
Right.
And what you're looking at. And so I tend to unfollow that where you're just looking at all this success because it can be dangerous if you're sort of newer to it,
Well,
Right.
you are the expert. So if somebody's hearing this or somebody's been inspired by you or some of these social media gurus, if you will,
Sure.
where is a safe, good place to start?
Yeah. As we talked about a little bit, I do think my personal opinion is just to start a little bit smaller. And I would say the best place to start is learning how to analyze a property. I think that's where a lot of the lack of confidence comes from, right? Like understanding the numbers behind a rental property, because if you can confidently say, this is going to make me money, my money is going to work hard in this investment, I think it takes a lot of the angst out. And I do talk to a lot of new investors and kind of review underwriting for newer investors. And where I see people get a little bit tripped up is not taking into account everything that they have to consider when buying a rental property, right? So
Right.
understanding like, at the end of the day, when you scale, when you grow, there's tons of metrics and spreadsheets. But in the beginning, there's really no need to overcomplicate it so much. It's income and it's expenses, right? So, if you're looking at a property, for example, say it's a 2-unit, right? And it's going to generate, let's just use round numbers, $2,000 a month in gross income. So $1,000 per unit. Let's just say the mortgage is $1,100, taxes $200 a month, and insurance $200 a month. So $1,500. So someone might say, oh, $2,000 minus $1,500. Great. I'm going to make money, $500 a month. And the reality is that particular property would surely lose money, right? I mean, that person, whoever looked at that and analyzed it that way, would not take into consideration a lot of things, right? Like repairs and maintenance.
Yeah.
Your tenants are going to call you and say, my faucet's broken. I have a
Right. I
leaky
need
faucet.
Right.
take it a step further, capital expenditures, right? The roof's going to go, the boiler's going to go. Now, depending on the age of the property, you can kind of change up what you're going to put as a line item there, but you have to account for that. Vacancy, $2,000 sounds great, but naturally your tenants are going to move.
Right.
You'll have time when you will not have that property occupied. So you have to add that in, right? One thing that I always see people miss as well is property management. You have to have a line item for property management. Now, I have my own property management entity. We manage our properties. But what happens when I don't want to do that one day? Or what happens if something happens to me?
Right.
I need to know that my properties or my business will be profitable if I need to hire a third-party property manager. So I always say to people, I hear a lot, well, I don't need that because I'm going to manage my own properties. You might not one day, and you need to make sure that your properties are
Smart.
So I would say getting your hands around the numbers, it's not complicated. It's income and it's expenses, but really figuring out this small property, is it going to make money? Is it not? I think that is half the battle.
Okay.
So, Alli, what exactly do you look for in a property when you're evaluating?
Sure. So, for our company, the name of the game really is to find properties that are undervalued. So we like to find a property that, needs a little TLC, as I mentioned in the beginning. I'm not looking for anything with major foundational issues, structural issues, no environmental problems, right? My favorite property has needs a cosmetic lift.
Needs a facelift.
Right?
Okay.
Needs a facelift, some new flooring, some new paint, sometimes new kitchen, but really nothing structural, nothing crazy. But rents are low, right? So you're in an area where because you've done the research, that rents could be much higher. And so the idea is to buy, value the property based on current income, and then you add equity to the building through improvement projects. You raise the value of the property, and then the idea is then you either refinance because now your property is worth a lot more, and you pull the equity out of the building so you can buy something else. Debt is considered tax-free, so you're not taxed on that cash that you pull out, and then you take that and you go put it into something else. And so, but the key, everyone says you make money when you sign at the closing table. I never really fully understood what that meant, but it's true. You have to buy right in order to do what I just said.
Right. After you leverage that equity into your next property, that, it's not like a domino effect that if one thing goes wrong, it's going to be a disaster for everything. But that's how you use the money to move forward and buy another property.
Yeah, exactly. There's this acronym called BRRR in our industry. It's BRRRR. So it's buy, rehab, rent, refinance, repeat. And so a lot of people use that as kind of a verb, like I'm going to burr this or whatever. It's
interesting.
It's harder to do these days, but even as people, and I think more experienced investors don't call it burr anymore, but at the end of the day, that is what you're doing, right?
Right.
Is it, Helen always talks about this logjam of homes that's in existence right now because there's just not enough houses on the market to buy up, and there's more people that are looking to buy a home than there are homes available. Is there that kind of conundrum in the investment world currently? Are you struggling to find properties, or are you in a good place?
Definitely. Super low inventory. And it's so easy for investors to be like, you kind of try and make it work. Well, if this, you just have to not do that so much, right? I mean, so what I mentioned about buying low and adding the value, right? Like a lot of sellers, because they know there's such low inventory, they'll come and say, well, rents are here, but rents could be here, so the property is valued here. Well, but as an investor, if I buy it here, I miss the whole point, right? So you have to be really careful. But because there's low inventory, sellers it's definitely more challenging.
I don't know if you want to reveal this right now because there's such low inventory, but where are the hot spots at the moment to buy an investment property? Or is it a secret?
If I knew,
you would have bought them already.
No, I do feel that off-market deals are the best, right? Like oftentimes if a multifamily home hits the market, it's probably overpriced and it's probably not. So, I mean, I still have my eye on it, but it is true. So I have a lot of investor friends. Like we're always talking about kind of off-market deals. In the beginning, I sent a lot of letters to property owners, and I've gotten deals that way where, owners
your house.
of multifamily properties. And that's where the relationship piece comes in too, where you people like to do business with people that they like, right? So
absolutely.
So I've had a lot of success that way. The last property I bought was from like a 90-year-old man. And he was the sweetest thing. He I think he like cared about me and my husband, and like just like
You had a bond.
It was really nice. And so and it was less about him being the sophisticated seller that wanted XYZ, right? He was just getting ready to offload his properties. He's getting old.
Yeah.
So it's like finding deals like that, I think is sort of the name of the game right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Did you have like the bulk of your business or the boom of your business during COVID?
I wouldn't say the boom. I wish I bought more during COVID, given the interest rates.
Right,
I mean, if I could do it all again, I would just go buy everything, right? But I only bought a couple duplexes during the heart of COVID. Yeah, so.
Has what you looked for in an investment property changed from when you first started, or is it just like...
I love that question because I would say what I look for in a building hasn't changed, but ironically, I'm not looking at smaller properties anymore because I find that the larger properties are just, you have a lot more control as an investor. And the reason being, a 1 to 4 unit building is still considered residential. So you're at the mercy of the real estate market. So you can do all the renovations you want, but if it's a down market, your property, everyone's going to be looking at comps. Appraisers are going to look at comps. A new buyer, if you're looking to sell, will be looking at comps in the area. Whereas a large multifamily building, it is valued by how it's performing from a profitability standpoint on its own, right? So you're looking at net operating income. You have the ability to go in, increase, add value, improvement projects, renovate, increase income, and thereby, increase the value of the property. And so you're controlling what's happening, with your property from a value standpoint. It's just, you have a lot less.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about how you increase the value by renovating as a small business? Like, how do you do that?
I'll look at a unit and sort of say, what are some of the base things that I can do to this apartment that will entice someone to want to spend a little more, right? It's like, you go in, carpet is one of the first things out, right? I put in the vinyl plank. Those are really durable for investments. I'll put in, new kitchens where necessary. Paint is huge. A paint job just does everything.
Yep.
Clean blinds are huge. Like some of this not a big thing, right?
Like new stuff, you think? Like just new is better? Newer is better sometimes? Or
sometimes, I have some older buildings, but I don't actually even have any brand new buildings, but yeah.
No, I mean like new, I'm thinking like new appliances.
I always do new appliances in certain like you also have to be cognizant of the rental market that you're in because I have some properties in Hudson Falls where granted, even if you can make it like the Taj Mahal, you're not going to get the rent, right? Because you're in a certain area versus, Saratoga Springs, you put granite, you'll make the rent all day.
Right.
So you have to be careful. You can overspend, and I've done it. But
sounds like fun. I'd probably be like, "Ooh, let's put this in here." It's
also fun to figure out how to do it in a cost-effective way.
It's a challenge.
It is. It's sort of fun, like to sort of figure out like, well, will doing that extra floor, how much? What will that sort of how will that translate into added rent? And so, and it's it's sometimes as an art, not a science sometimes. And I'm still learning too, right? I mean, so, but that's really, that's the idea. And so prior to purchasing a property, I'll do my pro forma and I'll figure out, what I'll need to spend, in order to increase the rents to a certain amount. And so that's all laid out in a business plan prior to me purchasing something.
I have a question, actually. This comes from my best friend, Courtney Kelly, down in Rockland County, New York. She saw that we were having a real estate investment firm on our show, and she said, what's it like, or have you considered investing in land versus in buildings? And is that something you've considered? Have you done it? Is it worthwhile?
I have never done it, and I'm certainly interested in it. Construction costs today are really high. So that's tough, and I'm not an expert on underwriting development projects, so I would sort of need help from that, but I'm absolutely not ruling it out. I love the idea. There's a sort of a new phenomenon people talk about, build to rent, right? So people are doing this more and more, but I just haven't.
Does it make sense to just get land and have it until you can afford, or is that like you're draining your pockets doing that? That's not a good idea. Like, is land a good investment to just have?
I wouldn't say so.
Okay.
I mean, I would rather my money. It's all about the time present value of money, right? So
True.
you want to put your money into something that's going to work today or immediately. And if you compare what that money would be seeing on a vacant parcel of land versus actively working in like an investment where you're right appreciating or whatever it is, my guess is that this would be the better option.
So if you're going to get land, do something with it right away.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I would say.
How have you grown your business? Like what has been the speed bumps along the way that you've encountered, and obviously successful today, but what have been some of the hurdles?
So I think, some of the biggest hurdle for me is not about being a real estate investor. It's, I think, any business. It's when you start to scale, you have to give up control of certain things. And so I now have some employees, and I have been used to doing everything. You wear every hat in the beginning, and so suddenly, you're no longer the one, dealing with the tenants. You're no longer the one sending out the renewal notices. You're no longer the one sort of managing the day to day, which is lovely. But it's also it was hard for me at first. I'm getting much better at it, but to sort of not be such a perfectionist about it and let things go, because at the end of the day, like that's, I think, the key of being a leader is to know what are the things that are okay not being perfect, or maybe they're not done the exact way you would do them, but it's better let that person do it. Don't micromanage, and have your focus your attention on the bigger business building stuff, which is picture. Why you're having this team in the first place. So growing with people has been a challenge for me.
Okay.
I have a great assistant property manager now. She lives in the Philippines, so she's a virtual assistant.
Oh, wow.
Love her.
Nice.
I have an amazing maintenance tech. Like, he's been with me for 2 years. Love him. He's fabulous. So I'm really lucky. But it's been challenging just to sort of delegate and not.
Still different.
Yeah, exactly.
How many years have you been in the business?
I started my company in 2018.
Okay.
And like I said, I bought 2 units, and now I have just under 60 units with a portfolio value of, I think, just under $10 million.
Wow,
So,
that's really fantastic. So if you're at a party, do people come up to you and say, I need an apartment, do you have it?
Sometimes. But yeah, I mean, here and there that'll happen. I'll throw it. So, but I normally don't rent to friends, and I would probably prefer not to, But
So it's super inspiring for me to watch your success. And
Thanks.
I guess I just really want to know, what's it like being a woman-owned business in real estate?
Yeah.
And I know that you have actually created something to help others do the same.
So I have found that being a woman-owned business has been really beneficial, because real estate investing is super male-dominated. And I've said this recently on a women's panel I was on. What sets you apart is sometimes what makes you memorable, right? So like when I speak with lenders in the area, when I speak with other investors, when I speak with sellers, like people like that I'm a little different, right?
Yeah.
People will remember me and like to do business with me. So I've certainly hit roadblocks with it, and I have been a victim of stereotypes like all of us, and it is what it is, But I think overall it's been really helpful. But yeah, I did co-found the Capital Region Real Estate Investing Association as a way to kind of break down some of the barriers for women, to say, no, hey, like, we can do this too. Women are good at this stuff. It's all about relationships. It's all about, we're better at some things than men are, right?
I would venture to say we're better at relationships, that's for sure.
Better at relationships, better at some.
Sorry, men.
No, exactly.
Sorry
no
to Devin.
offense to, but to give out. But, I definitely think it feels more intimidating, but it's not. I think.
So how would somebody go about joining that CREEAR?
CREA, we call it CREA, correct?
Yeah, the Capital Region Real Estate Investing Association. So there's a website, CREA.com, CRREIA.com. So I co-founded it with a partner of mine. I am no longer running the company, but it has 4 amazing individuals that are running the company, and you can join one first meeting for free, see what it's all about, and then join as a member right on the website.
Beautiful. I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And what exactly, if I'm to join on the website, because I'm really intrigued by all of this.
Yeah.
And what do I get if I join?
Yeah. So the group meets once a week, the third Tuesday of every month. And they meet in Clifton Park, the Marriott in Clifton Park. It's a great meeting. It starts out with just really informal networking, cocktails, there's food, and then there's a feature presentation of some sort of investor-related topic. We have experts coming in pretty much every month, and then ends with more networking. And I've met so many people that way. Nice. And CREA is also – so a Real Estate Investing Association is part of National REIA, which is the umbrella sort of company. And there's 120 chapters in the U.S. There just hadn't been one in the Capital Region. So my partner and I started it here. But because of that relationship, National REIA has sponsors like Home Depot. So being a member of CREA gets you some really nice perks with big box stores like Home Depot.
That's cool.
There's 2% cash back.
That's great.
15% off paints, et cetera. So that's a great benefit.
It's a lot
as well.
off paints.
Yeah, it's nice. So
great.
if you're doing these types of projects that I mentioned, which a lot of investors are,
Right.
it can be a really beneficial thing.
So it's a huge idea exchange.
Yeah, totally.
Every week.
Yep.
And
And then there's a Facebook group. So people are constantly, even non-members of CREA are posting questions. And it's just a nice way to sort of, we're all dealing with the same stuff. The rental market right now is tough. So we're like, what's happening? It's just nice to sort of commiserate with people sometimes and share success. But also it's nice to have like someone sounding boards. So
what are some of the must-haves for your rental units that you will always offer?
Oh, that I'll always offer.
In-unit laundry?
Yeah.
I have two college kids.
Helen's
One is out.
asking for herself. Well, for her daughters.
As my one daughter is looking, one lives in Boston, the other one is still at home, and she's been looking, and there's
Helen's
like
looking
certain,
to become an empty nest.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, so I can't say that all of my apartments have one thing.
Okay.
Where the apartments that are that rent much more easily have the laundry, and dishwasher. So I have plenty of of apartments that don't have those, and I do try and wire them in when I can.
Right.
My last apartment renovation, I didn't do that, and I'm regretting it. So I think upon the next turn, I'll probably add the dishwasher.
Right.
If it's not there, you've got to run the electric, but it's worth it because you'll get more rent. Yeah.
I actually, it's kind of funny because my daughter will send me things on Zillow or Realtor.com and say like, "Mom, did you see this apartment? Did you see this apartment?"
Oh, that's funny.
And what I say to her is, the value of living at home right now, you save your money.
Right.
Do you need to move out? Times that rent by 12 equals X. You should be saving that money before you move out.
And how old is she?
25.
Okay,
She'll be 25.
Okay.
But it's time.
What I would say to kids in their early 20s, what I will have my kids consider is what people in my industry call house hacking, where you buy like a 2-family and you live in one of the units and you rent out the other one.
Right.
So you really have like zero living expenses. That's sort of a fun strategy that I really didn't know about when I was young.
Well, and
when I was young, like an old
Isabella's boyfriend. Yeah, right. Hopefully Isabella's boyfriend is not listening because I'm going to now talk about him. But he's 27 and he's looking for a 2-family. Mm-hmm. So he can live on one side and rent out the other, and that's exactly
it's a smart way to do it.
Bella can live in one.
Yeah.
And,
So I think the problem sometimes, and we talked a little bit about social media, real estate investing is all about delayed gratification. So and it's so important, right? Like, but the thing is, social media, everyone fancy car and vacations and beautiful big houses, and so someone might not want to invest in some like weird little duplex.
So a lot of people who have lived in Saratoga and Saratoga County for a long time are talking about how like just the cost of rentals has gone up and affordable housing is kind of in a crisis right now. I mean, what's your take on that? What do you think?
I think it's cyclical. So rents are already coming back down. So this month and last month, I have apartments sitting in a way that they haven't in the past. And all of my investor friends that I talk to are in the same boat. So I just launched a program in my own business that basically is a tenant referral program that says, I'll give you $750 off your next rent if you come to us with a tenant that, we have to obviously vet them and improve them the same way we would any other tenant off the street. But that's just sort of a way to incentivize people to help me find tenants. Right. We've, made concessions, lowered rents. Rents are coming down already. So they're definitely, the rents were astronomical for a while. People doing what I'm doing have really made a lot more income than probably they had planned the last couple of years. But I believe it's cyclical, and I think And I was talking to an investor friend about this. Inflation has really crushed a lot of these tenants and a lot of these people looking to rent. And so something's got to give. And so landlords are starting to lower their rent. So I think it'll start to change a bit.
Well, and back to COVID. COVID ruined everything. Everybody who came from cities to try to find houses, who didn't find houses, had to rent.
Right.
And rents were at an all-time high. My God, if you had a pet, watch out, it would be even more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And so some of those people are still have found houses. So that is contributing, perhaps. But yeah, the cost of living for anybody right now is a tough nut.
It's just a tough time. Yeah. And people that are looking to move are like, well, why would I give up this low rate to just move? And, so it's interesting.
What's next for Keib Capital? Where do you see your future growing?
Yeah, I think about that all the time, and so much so that sometimes my husband's like, relax, like you just bought like all these things, like just calm down a little bit. But I'm always sort of I'm thinking about what's next, the future. I have always sort of had the mentality of keep it small. So I haven't partnered with anybody, and I believe that with my last property, the 23 unit that I was talking about, I'm probably at my max in terms of like what I can do alone. It's just a lot of work, even though I have a team. In order to, I think, scale the way that I know that I want to, I'll probably have to start thinking about, partnering with maybe a construction team or, just adding other people to my business in like a really meaningful way to sort of take it to the next level. I'm not really entirely sure. But yeah, and we also, like I mentioned, we added a new asset class to our business. So we're now in the short-term rental space, brand new to that. So we have to sort of see how that goes. Maybe we'll love it so much and we'll, do that more.
Like it probably happens organically as you see opportunities come.
It totally does. Yeah, and that latter purchase was, we had started working with a financial advisor years ago that sort of said like, if you want a vacation home, buy a vacation home, but wait until your cash flow and your rental property business can pay for the mortgage of your vacation home.
Nice.
And so we waited and we got there. And so that's really great. But we took it another step because we were like, well, no, we don't want to just use that to pay for this. We want this to make money too.
Right.
Nice.
So we're like, we're going to make this not just a vacation rental. This is going to be an Airbnb.
This seems to be like a theme that like we all need to listen to is long-term success really is all about patience.
Patience.
Yeah.
It's everything that if you don't have patience and have that like long-term mentality, you will not make it as a real estate investor because it is truly all about taking money, profits, reinvesting them right back into the business. You can't, it's really tempting. Oh, I'd love to take that out and go buy a Chanel bag, but you can't, right? You have to put that back into the business and just continue to accumulate and grow. And that's the only way you're going to,
Have you always been good at that? Is that something that comes naturally to you, or have you had to learn that? And if you had to learn it, how did you learn
So my parents were always really good at that. My parents were always conservative with money. I grew up that way. And so that's sort of been ingrained in me. And when I started my career working in financial services, but specifically I was in the retirement planning industry. I was selling variable annuities. My very first job out of college. A variable annuity is simply a product that's designed for, long-term income for life, which ironically is exactly what I'm doing now with these rental properties.
Right.
So I think I've always sort of understood this like long game financial planning. I'm kind of fascinated by behavioral finance. I love the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. So all that sort of always played a role. And my husband is the same way. We're pretty disciplined. So but you have to continue to tell yourself and pull yourself back and say, wait, this is tempting, but no, this is not, that purchase will not get us to where we want to go. And the other big piece of this, and I was on a women's panel recently, and this topic was really resonated with people, is consumer debt. That's so important to keep out of your life, right? Like if you have a ton of consumer purchases on, credit cards and things, like that's just going to really inhibit your ability to sort of take out loans and buy, it's like there's a difference between good debt and bad debt. And to really understand the difference is huge. Like leverage debt is great if you're using it the right way, but most people don't. We've had some exciting things. This fall has been really busy. In September, I purchased the 23 unit in Hudson Falls.
Nice.
We also did a reverse 1031, which is a 1031 exchange is simply a way to exchange one property for the next tax-free. So you're basically deferring your taxes. Probably not the best thing to say tax-free, but you're deferring your taxes. And the reverse piece just means that I bought the big one first. So we closed on that. Sold my first building. We purchased our first single family home that we will be using as a short-term rental in Montauk, New York. So that was really exciting. That was in October.
Going a little farther than usual. Is that your farthest away?
That's my furthest. Oh
investment?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And I grew up on Long Island, so it's a special place.
Familiar.
We've been vacationing there since I was a baby. So that was a really special thing for our family.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And then next week I will be closing on a refinance. I mentioned sort of our strategy as a business where we buy low, add some value, increase the value. So we bought a 10 unit in 2022, January 2022, for $905,000. I went in and renovated, I think 9 out of 10 apartments. Light cosmetic updates, really was able to increase the value of that property. It appraised for $1.35 million. And I'll be going in late this week or early next week to pull that equity out. So it'll be about $300-something thousand, closer to $350. They make you keep a good chunk in, 20 and 25%. Sure. The bank will make you keep that in there. But so I'll be ready for sort of my next investment. And so we'll pull the cash out and be able to invest it into something hopefully great.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Yay.
Congratulations. I know. I just love it. And I feel like you're really, you've been doing it for a while, but not that long in the scheme of things. So I'm excited to see what else.
It's inspiring. You make it seem, you don't make it seem simple. You're so successful, and it's so, just take your time, do your homework, and do your analysis, and don't be afraid.
It is pretty methodical. And then your business starts to make its own money and support itself. That was a huge thing for me too.
Right.
Like I used to be, telling my husband, I need an influx.
I need a little bit.
I need an influx of cash. I have to do this floor. He's like, again, And now, the last bunch of years, we've not used a dollar of our personal money. It's all the business, right?
That's amazing.
That's great. So it doesn't feel so overwhelming. It's like you get your cash flow and you put new floors in, and right, and so the business supports itself, which has been a huge change. Yeah,
excellent.
We're back on Broadway, finding you the best deals for Small Business Saturday. All right, so what are Lifestyles, Caroline and Maine, and Union Supply Co. offering for Small Business Saturday?
We are doing a gift with purchase. We're doing a giveaway and enter to win. We have a drop the dot sale where everything that's on sale is 80% off, and we're really just thanking our clients. That's a big day for us.
Yeah. And then you had mentioned there's some other things surrounding Small Business Saturday?
Correct. Well, we start next door at Caroline and Maine for Pink Friday, which is a shop small business first event where we have pink champagne. You get a gift just for walking in the door, a gift with purchase, and you shop our holiday shop early.
Just a little bit of champagne to give you incentive to get you in the door, right? Shopping small, you get champagne.
Correct. And we do have refreshments throughout Black Friday, Small Business Saturday, and then we cycle right into our Victorian Street Walk the next week. So we have a lot going on around here.
Just a few doors down at Saratoga Olive Oil Co. Small Business Saturday's coming. What are some of the deals you got going on?
Yeah, so we're very excited about Small Business Saturday. We're happy to participate. So inside the shop, everything in the shop will be 25% off. We will also have little stocking stuffers that they're normally $8, but they'll be $6. They're 60 milliliter oil and vinegars, and they'll be all decorated in Christmas style. And then we're also going to be having a promotion with Saratoga Tea and Honey down the road, where both they and us will have 50 packages of a little giveaway. For anybody who spends over $150 in the shop, will get a free prize. And it will be a little honey, it will be a little bottle of fig balsamic vinegar, and a recipe to use those two.
Ooh, that's one of my favorites. And that's only on Small Business Saturday.
Only on Small Business Saturday.
Okay.
That particular giveaway, the sale, will also be the day before on Black Friday.
All right, what is Lucia offering for Small Business Saturday?
All clothing 20% off. In Black Friday, the first hour will be all clothing 40% off. Second hour, all clothing 30% off. And then the rest of the day, all clothing 20% off.
What's Lola offering for Small Business Saturday?
We have some crazy exclusive designer deals going on. You actually are going to have to stop in store that day. We are not releasing them until that day because if we do, everything will sell out and we really want to have some good stuff.
Oh, okay, so you have to come in to check it out.
Yes, you'll have to come into our store. We are open 10 to 6. It's going to be a good day.
Time now for our real estate horror story.
Uh-oh.
Alli, do you have any, I'm sure you've got to have something like with these older properties that you're buying or tenants.
Yeah.
Come on, what you got?
So I would say, I don't have tenant horror stories. I have apartment horror stories. I
Okay.
have tenant funny stories because my tenants have been
Could be funny.
amazing. Yeah. So, I mean, there's a couple that like just more recently happened. So a couple months ago, one of my tenants contacted us because she just kept getting all these secret admirer notes on her door. And like every time she'd come home, there was like a love note. She would go walk the dog and come back to like a Post-it, like,
wanna
oh,
move
you're
in that
so pretty.
apartment. Right?
So, but it was kind of like getting a little creepy because she was like, who?
Right.
She was looking around, who is
Yeah.
this?
Stalker.
So we bought like a little Ring camera. I had my maintenance guy like stake it out a little bit, and we were gonna like maybe get the police involved. We had no idea. Turns out we saw the video. It was the tenant next door that was like had a crush on this girl.
Oh my
They're
so
they're now
sweet.
dating.
No way.
Yeah, so sometimes you become like this like therapist, matchmaker. I know. I'm like there was a better way to go
Wow.
about that, but
No,
it's
it's
super
perfect.
funny and
That
cute. Yeah.
that could backfire if they move in together.
Yeah.
Then there's
Then I have
less
a
apartment.
then I have a vacancy. Yeah, yeah.
Oh
so that
my
was a funny
goodness.
story.
That's great.
Yeah, my funniest maintenance request was that there was a ghost.
Oh.
So I had that, and I thought that was really funny because it was my favorite though because it didn't cost me any money. I had to just explain that.
called the
that-
Ghostbusters?
Yeah, exactly. But apartment stories, like so I have some pretty old buildings. I was in Mexico with my family this past winter, and I got a call from a guy that was just doing a demo job for me, just literally pulling everything out. I figured I'm going to be away. How hard
could
could
go
this
wrong?
be? What could go wrong?
Yeah.
He pulled up the carpet and there was dog poop that had been
What?
someone laid carpet between the subfloor and the carpet. It just laid it on top of poop.
That's
so yeah. So
disgusting. That's a horror story.
Why?
Horror story. I don't know. Clean it up, right?
Maybe they didn't know it.
I
And
thought
it got-
I was giving them the benefit of the doubt, but yeah.
All right.
So
It didn't smell through the carpet?
It didn't. No, it was all hardened and everything.
Somebody needs to look into like
So,
whatever
yeah.
insulation is in that carpet
Yep.
and invest in
Yep.
that
Yep.
because like how did that not stink?
I know.
Wow.
Yeah. One time I walked into an apartment and all the floors were buckled. Tenant moved out, and so she had moved in with her boyfriend during the winter months and froze the pipes. All the flooring buckled, and so I had to redo all the floors. So now it's in my leases, like you have to keep the temperature certain,
Right.
so
Certain,
you just
yeah.
you learn. This
Yeah.
is all
You live
learning,
and you
right?
learn.
This is,
Right.
yeah, exactly. So
Wow.
yeah. So keeps us on
Well,
our
yay.
toes. Yeah.
Thank
I
you
like
so
those.
much.
That was like the 5-minute stories that you read to
Yeah,
your kid,
yeah.
where it's
Right.
like a whole
Right.
collection of quick little short
Yeah.
stories. That was like a little 5-minute horror stories. That
Yeah,
was great.
exactly. I
You
like
a
go
whole
on and on. It's so funny.
anthology.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, thank you so
Thanks for
much,
having me
Alli,
today.
for
Thank you,
coming.
Alli.
I really
Thank you
enjoyed
very
this.
much.
I'm really inspired by everything that you shared. I'm sure a lot of
Thank you.
listeners will be too. So if anybody has any questions, I mean, where's a good place to reach out to you? Do you think Korea is a good place to start or email you?
My email, it's Alli at KeibCapital.com.
Simple enough.
Yeah.
And Alli is
A-L-L-I.
spelled, yeah.
ALLI.
A-L-L-I. Perfect.
Yeah.
Yay.
All right. Well, thank you so much, and thank you for listening. Hope you join us again soon.
Thank you.
If you have any story ideas or if you want to submit a real estate horror story, want to be a guest on our show, be sure to email us at sellingsaratogapod@gmail.com. All right. Thanks, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.